Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Karl Catarata.
Yes.
Oh boy, I know Jim had trouble with that name.
Many people do. We're trying to do a commercial about it.
Yeah. Clark County School Board District Letter A. But before we get to Mr. Catarata, Jim, do you have any rants?
No, actually, I'm good.
Man,
No
two in a
rants.
row, you good.
Jim's all good?
No,
Two
I'm
in a row.
good.
Let's
I'm
see.
happy.
Let's see if Jim goes.
I'm happy I get to go to, back to Wyoming for 5 months, which will be a little depressing because I won't be able to hang out with you as much.
I'm going to have to get a co-host. Maybe Mr. Catarata will want to do it.
I'll be here.
Maybe. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. It's a summer thing with me, and it was always my dad's dream to live out here during the winter and back there during the summer, and so I'm able to do that. So that's cool.
Good. Switch it up a little
Yeah.
bit. I know when I was in Connecticut this past week, it was Connecticut and New York was good. I couldn't do much work. I had to just have fun.
Actually have fun,
Relax.
which is new for you.
Yeah, I was forced upon me.
That's right.
It
Yeah.
was forced upon me, Mr. Catarata.
You're to relax, rest and relaxation.
Yeah.
Look, we all need it. We all need it.
Dude,
It's
I'm
good
telling you,
business
this
to
guy is probably the hardest worker right now.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes. Yeah.
Mr. Catarata,
Yes. Thank you.
tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you to both of you. Thank you for both of you for letting me be on the show. And all my friends, family, folks in the community have much respect for veterans in politics. And your logo is much respected and distinguished across the valley, across the Las Vegas Valley. But yeah, running for Clark County School Board District A, we definitely need to improve our school district, running for the school board, because we really need to get somebody who has experience, but also someone who's going to cross the aisle, right? When it comes to working together to improve outcomes for our students. I'm looking to bring solutions rather than problems to the board, making sure that we're bringing my 3 R's, which are results, resources, and readiness to the board.
Is this your bio?
This is my bio. Yes,
Okay.
yes, sir. Results through third grade math and third grade reading, resources, making sure that our educators have the best resources possible, and also allocating the best resources, right? Because they have $1 billion budget. But also career readiness, making sure that our kids are career and college ready. Those are my 3 R's, and that's why I'm running for the seat.
So I've noticed that ever since they started looking for a superintendent, there's always an issue. Trying to find a superintendent, trying to keep a superintendent, then the superintendent try to take over the whole board, school board trustees, and they try to ban superintendents from going to different schools. What's the story? Who's in charge?
Yeah, so it's it's a system. It's right. It's a system, and it really depends on who has the best relationships. And I think that many people look at CCSD and they look at it and it's dysfunctional. It's a mess. It's confusing. Who's really in charge?
Teachers are getting arrested for speaking up.
Right.
What's going on?
Teachers are getting arrested, but also teachers are doing inappropriate things across the district as well, right? We've seen even last
Parents
week.
are getting arrested for speaking
Right,
up.
that too. I mean, we see that principals are leaving the district as well. There's a lot of problems all across the board when it comes to the school district.
There's always school shortage with teachers.
Right.
There's always overcrowded classrooms.
Overcrowding. Kids are not getting the
I don't
best
know where
nutrition.
the marijuana money is going to.
You're right. Yeah, so that's the legislature.
These are the topics we're trying to clear up. Could you help us out?
Right. Yeah. So when it comes to the school board, we really need to make sure that we're having qualified, experienced people on the school board. And that's why I decided to throw my name in the hat, because of the fact that we need to make sure that we have folks who have worked in the system, who have had the opportunity to work all across the community to actually getting something done.
And you have.
I have. I've worked in local, state, and federal government.
That should be part of your bio.
I was holding it. I was holding it to the end, right? So, I'm the only candidate who has local, state, and federal experience. And I make, no hidden gestures about that I've worked in the federal government, getting veterans the benefits that they deserve, senior citizens the benefits they deserve, making sure our post office, our boxes. When I was working at the city, I worked with you to blighted buildings, right? Blighted buildings and houses that were not in the best par condition to be torn down or removed, working with the city council on that when I worked at a staff member to the city council. In the state, working as the chairman of the Commission on Mentoring, making sure that we get the funding to our mentorship organizations, because kids who have a mentor get the best resources possible and also the best outcomes through the school district. So going back to your question, why the school board and what needs to be fixed at the school board? It needs to be better leadership at the school board, but also making sure that when we do get the next superintendent, which tomorrow at the CCSD meeting, they're going to be looking at, is we need to make sure that we have a superintendent that is community driven, solutions oriented, and mindful of what the community is hungry for, what the community is looking for. And I think that we really need to stand up. We need to stand up together when it comes to getting things done at the school district, because our children deserve it.
So, Mr. Catarata.
Yes, sir.
Who's in charge? Is it the superintendent or is it the school board trustee?
The superintendent should be in charge. The superintendent is the one person that the board of trustees oversees, right? That should be.
Could the superintendent ban a school board trustee from going to a school? Because that happened with Kevin Child.
Mr. Child, yes. So that happened with Kevin Child. The superintendent does have that power, but
to ban a school board trustee.
To ban a school board trustee, yeah, they do have that power.
The one that actually voted for them to be a superintendent. The one that actually votes for their salaries and pay raises. The superintendent gets to. It doesn't make any sense.
It's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess.
It's just so confusing, and then we have such a transient community,
right?
That puts a lot of stress on the school board too.
Yeah.
But it's like to Steve's point, I'm not trying to put words in Steve's mouth, but like all of us are confused. Like, who is actually in charge of this thing?
Right. Parents are confused. Teachers are confused. Children are confused. Who's the trustees that we're supposed to trust?
State of mind.
Right. So, that's the reason why when I run for school board, when I'm running for the school board, and when I win this January, I'm going to get the votes in the primary, get the votes in the general, and be sworn in January. I'm going to make sure that we have true leadership. We have the superintendent out in the community, making sure that parents and children are heard, but also having a board that supports them, making sure that you have your board of directors overseeing what the heck you're doing in our schools. I'm lucky that I recently opened up my own charter school in the city of Las Vegas, which is Vegas Vista Academy. It's the first international baccalaureate. International baccalaureate, by the way, is a magnet program that is in CCSD, the most rigorous, more rigorous than advanced placement. I'm a proud graduate of it. And we're opening up a charter school in the city of Las Vegas. And same thing, when I serve as the board of director on this charter school, we have one principal. And the board of directors oversees that principal. And I think that that's what the community deserves. And the community needs to see true leadership at the helm. And that's the reason why I look forward to working with our community to bring true accountability to the school district.
What about the overcrowdedness in the school?
Yep, overcrowding in schools is definitely a big thing. I know that I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but the Bond Oversight Committee is responsible. The Bond Oversight Committee is responsible for how many schools we are building. I've been a candidate, the only candidate in my race, to have consistent conversations with business developers, have consistent conversations with the business community, and have consistent conversations with families that are frustrated about zoning and overcrowding in schools. I'm a proud product of CCSD. So I've been in a crowded classroom. I know what it means when there's no AC and you're in the back, you can't focus, you're hungry, and you just want to get the hell out of there. You just want to get the hell out of there. And you want to make sure that you get your homework done. You just get your homework done, you learn what's happening in class, and you want to do a good job as a student, right? I remember going to high school and middle school being in an overcrowded classroom. What do we need to do about it? I think that the school board needs to bring this up as an agenda item in front of the superintendent and say, hey, look, these are the schools with the most overcrowding. How are we going to work with our appropriate committees, zoning and bond oversight, to getting this done? I know that I've got into the weeds a little bit on that because I've worked in government, but that's the most common sense approach. You work with your committees, you bring it up as an agenda item, you set goals, and you get it done.
So who runs these teachers? Is it the union or is it a school board trustee?
I think that the teachers, I give great credit to my teachers, right? My mom's a teacher. Mom's a teacher, so she runs her own classroom in the school district. Right now, the superintendent or the interim superintendent speaks to teachers. I know that the last superintendent tried to control what teachers, administrators are doing in classrooms, which was completely inappropriate. But the school board is just there to support. The school board's not there to control. The school board's not there to point the finger and wag. We're supposed to be working side by side, sitting next to each other, working together when it comes to the issues of overcrowding, of nutrition in our schools, of making sure that our kids can read by a third grade at a third grade level. And I think that's really who's in charge. I wouldn't say I have no comment on the union. I'll work with any union when it comes to getting it done when it comes to our kids. I know that the two unions right now, or one of the unions has endorsed my opponent, but the other union is staying out right now for it. But I'll work with anyone to get it done. I don't think that anyone's really in charge of teachers, because I work with teachers all the time, and teachers will tell you one thing, administrators will tell you the other things, and of course the superintendent will tell you one thing. But as a school board member, I'll end it here. As a school board member, you're just there to support. Or you're supposed to show up to schools, do tours, monitor, oversee, do oversight of what's the right thing to do, right? When it comes to these schools. If there's cracks in the schools, bringing that up to facilities, bringing that up to the superintendent. If there's zoning issues, I know that I've spoken to many neighbors in Henderson when it comes to a specific elementary school that they need to work with the local municipality, the city of Henderson, to fix zoning. That's a trustee and a superintendent issue, but they got to work together. The top of the chicken needs to talk to the leg of the chicken, right? So that's how I'd answer that question.
So as it pertains to overcrowding, how many schools do you think we should build?
So the Bond Oversight Committee went from 10 schools, and I believe that they have brought that number down to 3. I think that we need to build based upon what municipalities are looking when it comes to the master plan communities. I think that varies for City of North Las Vegas, City of Las Vegas, Clark County, Henderson, the Boulder City, Searchlight, and Laughlin area. But look, I'm open to building more schools when it comes to it, but we're also seeing that right now there is a dip in enrollment because of folks not having children, or children are already growing up, right? Yeah. So we need to be smart. We really need to be smart about it. And that's why my charter school, I'm glad to have this real world experience compared to respectfully some of my colleagues. I like to call them my colleagues. I don't see them as opponents, because we're going to be working together when it comes to building our schools.
Yeah, because one thing that's always confused me is why prevailing wage. That's always been something that I've always been like, why do schools have to be built using prevailing wage? Yeah, what's your position on?
My position on it, look, I'll work with business developers. I'll work with the trade unions when it comes to getting the work done, when it comes to building our schools. No one has given me a straight answer right now when it comes to it. I know that some of the trade unions have, after my interviews with them, which I'm grateful to Veterans of Politics for seeing me through as a real candidate that I am, have decided to go with my opponents. But I truly warn my colleagues in the building sector, in the development sector, because if you haven't had a real public servant who has actually had experience working with like a planning commission or a zoning commission, I've done that since I was 16 years old, you won't really get that outcome. So your endorsement, we'll see what happens with that endorsement. But that's how I'd answer that question is I'll work with anyone when it comes to building a good school, when it comes to electrical, cement, all the different things that when it comes to pertaining to build a school.
Okay. Some of curriculum like penmanship and cursive writing,
right.
and that's all out of the schools now, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
shouldn't people know how to sign their name on documents? Isn't that part of it?
I think kids are definitely curious. Kids are definitely curious and have the different styles of how they want to sign and penmanship. But you're right. We need to think about creative ways when it comes to providing kids the best things and tools to succeed. And that's my R. Remember that. You remember that. Results, resources, and readiness. We need to make sure our kids are ready. So what does that look like? That looks like penmanship, right? Making sure that they're able to be able to know how to sign on the dotted line, right? We want to make sure that our kids who want to go into our armed forces, our military, that they have the best resources to prepare them for a successful career in our military. We need to make sure that kids who want to go into university or college, right? Nevada State University, CSN, UNLV. If they want to go that route and seek out a degree, what specific credits are we offering them during their junior and senior year? I think that the school board needs to do more. You're right, Steve. The school board needs to do more when it comes to thinking creatively, when it comes to different classes, different credit, different curriculum. And look, young students are hungry. Young students are hungry. I'm already talking to young people across the city of Henderson. Some young people want to extend the mental health credit. I know that right now you have to get a 0.5 half credit when it comes to learning about your mental health, right? Making sure that we're avoiding hurting oneself. They want to make sure that they're expanding that credit from 0.5 to 1 full credit. And I know that those kids, they're doing amazing work. They are doing amazing work when it comes to seeing how this has impacted their community and they want to put change, right? They want to put more mental health professionals when it comes to making sure that kids get the best successful outcome they can for their future. Some other folks talk about, we see, look, you drove here, right? You drove here? Driving. People suck at driving, right? We need to make sure that we have classes for folks who are able to learn about how to protect yourselves while driving. So
changing the tire,
changing oil,
changing a bulb,
changing a bulb, right? All these different things that can set you up successfully for a career. I know that when I went to Valley High School, I'm a proud graduate of Valley High School, I took classes in woodworking. So I learned how to shave wood, build wood. I took a whole entire class on that. I built shelves. I built many things. I also knew in that class how to change successfully how to change the saw and all the things a part of a saw, right? Changing a bulb, how to change a light bulb to make sure that you have the well-lit area so you don't cut your finger off.
I'm talking about one on a vehicle.
That too, right. I know that at Valley, when I was a senior at Valley, not too long ago,
How old are you?
I'm 26. What, 9-10 years ago? That there were classes when it came to automotive, right? How to change the oil, how to change the belt on the engine, making sure that you're able to build the engine, making sure that you know how to paint the car correctly so that there's no more scratches or wears and tears and that your car doesn't look terrible, right?
One thing I haven't seen in any of these schools is banking and money management and
Good point.
how to buy stocks, how to buy real estate, stuff that's going to help people make money. Instead, they teaching all this trigonometry and all this craziness that we'll never use in the real world. But stock options, real estate, money management, and all that stuff we do use in the real world. How come the schools don't teach that stuff?
Right, and I think that definitely we need to lean on this is why you need someone experienced. I'm grateful for my experience. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't hit the mic. I'm grateful for my experience working in local, state, federal government, opening up my own charter school, having the opportunity to work in the nonprofit community in Las Vegas, connecting to families and children, all children from walks of life, right? You mentioned something very important, financial literacy, right? And that's very important when it comes to making sure that our kids are setting themselves up for success, whatever career they're looking for, but making sure that they're able to balance a checkbook, right? Balance a checkbook, making sure that they're able to not get into credit card debt, right? Making sure that they're able to figure out what interest rates look like when it comes to a loan or a house, or when it comes to a loan on a car, right? These are things that the school board definitely needs to have conversations on. The school board definitely is not having those conversations, as you've seen in the past couple of years, that there's all that dysfunctional bickering that's happening. But I intend to be a different type of trustee. I've told folks very honestly out on the campaign trail, I'm going to be a very different type of trustee. And you're going to, some people will be shocked, some people will be awed.
How different?
How different is that I'm going to be having these tough conversations. I'm going to be having these tough conversations about asking the superintendent at the dais, what are we doing to preparing our kids when it comes to financial literacy? What are we doing to making sure that our kids are safe on the roads? Just a couple of weeks ago, I released my released some road signs when it came to drive safe for students. And when it comes to those signs, people started asking questions like, are we teaching safe driving in our schools? what programs are there in the Las Vegas Valley to protect my kid, defensive driving, protecting my kids, aside from the regular, I'll pay you $25 to teach my kid how to drive on the car, the car that says student driver, right?
Right.
These are hard questions that I intend to be as a trustee, but I'm also going to think outside the box. But those conversations don't end at the dais, right? Because I'm going to be the different type of trustee that is not only community driven, but also following that up behind the scenes. That's why you need someone who has worked at least a day in government to know how government works. Because you mentioned there's all that red tape, there's all the bureaucrats behind the scenes. Who's really in charge? Well, there are folks behind the dais and behind the board meeting room who are in charge of their respective departments, right? Finance and payroll, making sure that CCSD police, right? Having those conversations with different departments in the district to getting these things done. And I'll end it off here, right? I'm a different type of trustee because I've also built relationships that will bring powerful results. Having powerful relationships and powerful results, you get more things done. And being respected and respectful of your peers, even if we might disagree. Look, we might disagree on issues of curriculum. We might disagree on issues of how to be the best community-oriented person through town halls or roundtables or events. But we need to make sure that we are working together across the system in achieving good results. And that's the type of trustee I intend to be. And I'd love to, I don't want to talk your ear off because I know I've talked
to... That's what this program is for.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for.
Mr. Catarata, when you decided to run for Clark County School Board.
Oh, here it goes. Yeah.
What was going on in your mind? Why you wanted to do this? And what problems did you see, and what solutions you deemed that was necessary to bring forth?
I think both of you, as us as men here, we've found a time in our life where we have to step up. We've found a time where we have to step up, and either we've said I want to do something, or enough of this shit. We got to do something, right? And out of due respect. 2 years ago, I ran for the University Regents. What
kind of education do you have, by the way?
Right, so UNLV, political science and leadership and civic engagement from my UNLV. Also forgot
you got a bachelor's?
Yes, making sure that...
How many?
Just one, of a bachelor's. But also before my UNLV, my time at UNLV, I also went to Valley for the International Baccalaureate program.
Okay.
Remember that International Baccalaureate program, it's a rigorous program, right? It is similar to making sure that you have multiple different projects, assignments every single night.
What's it called?
International Baccalaureate, IB. It's similar to AP classes that kids are taking right now.
So basically, did Valley turn into basically a magnet school?
Yes, yeah, it's a magnet.
Because Clark,
Yes.
I graduated from Clark.
Yeah.
Clark's a magnet school now.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And it's one of the most rigorous programs. It was created after World War II to have a curriculum across the globe for diplomats. And it's a rigorous program, right? You learn a lot about how to manage your time, how to be gritty, and how to get things done. I also have certificates from Georgetown University from Education, Finance, Leadership, and Strategy, which is a fancy schmancy way about the fact that I paid for a certificate to network with folks across school boards and school districts across the country to learn about what they're doing good so that we can bring that here in Las Vegas. But also, how do we look at the budgets, right? How are we looking at our billions of dollars in budgets for CCSD, which is our hard-paying tax dollars, right? Like those are our tax dollars that are being used at the school board. So that's why I wanted to get that certificate, because I want to make sure that I can tell my voters, tell my constituents that I am worthy of their vote to be able to manage a budget, balance the budget, and make sure that we're able to allocate those resources appropriately. Is the school board doing that right now? No, they need to do more. And that's my education background. But to be honest with you, Steve, I don't really credit my education background when it comes to the work that I do in the community. My background is really pounding the pavement when it comes to speaking with all across the folks in Henderson, our senior community, our veteran community, our parents, our teachers. I learned more from them. I did learn a lot in my education time, but I learned a lot from hearing stories about hey, my mailbox is broken. I need you to stand up for us at the Postal Service and work together. So, me going over, working in the federal government as a caseworker, working to go to the Postal Service and sitting down, having those hard conversations. This is a problem. It needs to be addressed. And cutting through that red tape, cutting through the government tape of making sure that we're able to get things done for our community. So that's my background, but I really credit my.
Okay, so now back to the question.
Yeah.
What do you see wrong, and what are your solutions?
Yeah, my solution. So, and I know that the question, we went from the university regional and all that, but long story short, some folks encouraged me to run for a university regent because they were saying on the board of regents for the university, there's no student voice. There's no student voice. There's no student voice. I was a student at UNLV on the college campus. I was involved with the Democrats, involved with the Republicans and the independents, and what all the sororities, fraternities, all of the
stuff. For the record, this is a nonpartisan seat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I worked with everyone. I worked with everyone across the campus to improve for if it's the students, professors, admin, alumni, and they said that there was no student voice. So I ran for regents. I got I'm trying not to swear, got my butt kicked. I got my butt kicked for the university regents.
Yeah. Who kicked your butt?
My good friend Heather. She kicked my butt. My good friend. Look, and she's now at the Board of Regents, serving the people of Henderson. But then, I took a hiatus. I took a break. I went back and joined a small business in advertising based out of Reno, and just really focused on my career. But then that was when I went to Starbucks. I went to my local Starbucks. And at Starbucks, I was sitting down, having coffee, and there were parents. They were just like...
I boycotted Starbucks.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well,
Me too, by the way.
The beans are pretty bitter. Look, I will say I like to get my coffee from other places, but there's a Starbucks right around the corner. But, I was at a Starbucks, I was sitting down, I was doing work on my laptop, and there were parents that were just like, you're that kid who wanted to improve education. And I was like, me? And they were like, we voted for you. And I was like, thank you so much. I'm grateful. I was grateful for your vote. And they kept asking, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? I was like, I'm just taking a break. I'm enjoying myself. I'm 20, I was 24, 25 years. I was in my 20s. I'm in my 20s. I'm in my 20s. I'm enjoying being a 20-year-old, And they were just like, you got to run for something. You got to run for something because there's a fire within you to improve our system. There's a fire within you to bridge gaps together, work across the aisle to getting things done. And they also say, you're a pretty good communicator. You're a pretty good communicator. So I was just like, all right, there's a problem in the legislature. There's a problem in the school board, problem at the regents. Then I was at Albertsons. Uh-oh. And then they were just like, hey, we voted for you. You're that Carl with a K. And I was just like, all right, well, thank you for your vote. You still engaged.
It's humbling, isn't it?
It is humbling. And time after time, I was either at a grocery store or at a coffee shop, and people kept asking, what are you doing to step up and run for office again? Or are they going to appoint you to something so that you can advocate? Because you seem like a guy with common sense. And I was just like, look, I don't intend on running for anything. And that was when the current trustee, Trustee Guzman, had announced that she was no longer seeking office. And that's when folks were just like, Carl, you got to run. You have to run for the school board.
She moderated for us.
Yes, yeah. And she is wonderful. She's a wonderful public servant. And
she's my biggest fan.
Yes, she's great. And
you're her biggest fan too.
It was an interesting dynamic back and forth. But no, I really like her.
Yeah, she's on the school board. She's on the school board, and she
did an excellent job too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she decided not to. She did her time. She did her time on the school board, and she said she wants to pass on the baton, the torch, you name it. And that was when
you're supposed to do it.
Right. And I was grateful. I was grateful that folks had considered me. I will be honest with folks. The school board is dysfunctional. It is dysfunctional. You ask any legislator, you ask any member of the community, why would you want to do the school board?
Yeah.
Why would you want to do the school board? But that was when I thought about those conversations about what am I doing to give back to the community? What am I doing to step up and give my talents of someone who is solutions oriented? I'm able to look at a problem, think outside the box, think very creatively about how to get it done, and actually move the needle on it, right? So I've been talking with folks, and I'll end my answer off here, right? We are currently right now still behind on education. 48th in funding, 47th when it comes to our education ranking. Some folks like to say we're closer to number one, but we need to keep moving the needle. And if we're 47th in education, we need to move ourselves to 46. If we're 46, 45. And I'll have 4 years on the school board. And in those 4 years, you need to be useful. I think that was a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I'll be back.
I'll be back, but also be useful. You got to be useful with the work that you're doing. Don't just sit there and dilly-dally on the board. I'll end it off there.
Jim, you have anything else for Mr. Catarata?
No, not really. I just...
I hope I didn't bore your head off.
Oh, no, you actually answered my question, because I've always wondered why anybody had run for the school board. But it is very dysfunctional, and I hope you can kind of bring some order to it, because it just seems like it's a bickering contest.
Right.
Where it's like, no, we're actually supposed to be, like you said, move the needle. We should be moving forward. So,
and I think about this, and this is why I don't get reactive to things, is I've worked in public service. I was an intern at the county commission when I was 16. That stuff changes you. Yeah. When you're 16 years old, working at a boring government center, so I worked for the county commission. I interned for the county commission. I interned for tax assessing. As a 16-year-old, when you're at a government job looking at taxes, you earn kind of a respect for the people around you, for the veterans in the system who are making sure that, look, am I overpaying when it comes to the tax on my home? The people at the government making sure that, we are fending off enemies, foreign and domestic. And also, you got to give it to some of these elected officials. They have some interesting ideas, whether they're Democrat or Republican. But I worked behind the scenes. I sowed my oats at 16, and now I'm 26, 10 years later. And, you put it best. Why I'm running for this seat is because of the fact that we need to cut through the dysfunction. Every single week on the news, we see something about CCSD. Teacher assaults student. Teacher does something inappropriate. Student gets into a fight. School board does this. We're ranking low in education. We need to get those headlines to be positive and better so that we can work across the community, business sector, and religious and faith, nonprofit, and in the citizen sector, all of these sectors of life, to making sure that we're improving this community so people actually want to live here, right? I've spoken to the realtors, right? The realtors say, and my dad was a realtor, if you want to sell a good home, you want to sell it right next to a good school, right? You don't want to sell it next to a school that's breaking down and crumbling. I've spoken to nurses and doctors who want to move here to give quality care. I know that your organization works closely with folks in the medical district, right? For Las Vegas Medical District at the City Hall. We want to make sure that we're getting the best doctors and nurses here to making sure that if there is diseases or things that are on the horizon, that their kids are able to go to a good school. I'm going to be cutting through the dysfunction, bringing solutions to the board, and that's what I hope to bring. And I know that I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here. So thank you to both of you, and thank you for your advocacy in the community, because you're bringing all of us to accountability.
Well, we run out of time, Mr. Catarata. I need you to look at the camera and tell folks why they should go to the voting booth and vote for you, and your point of contact, please.
Look, this is Karl Catarata. 13 days until voting. Early voting is happening now. I hope to earn your vote. My name is Karl Catarata, Karl with the K. I bring the most experience and the most qualifications to the school board. When I'm elected, I want to bring results, resources, and readiness to the board, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you, and God bless.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jim, thank you for coming on. Yeah. Karl, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Folks, that's Karl Catarata. He is a candidate for Clark County School Board, District Letter A. There is no incumbent in the race, And he's been endorsed by all 4 veterans groups, so we want to congratulate him for that as well. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics, and we encourage everybody that lives in District A to vote for Karl Catarata. Until next time.